In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern where there is a couple of snow threats, a couple of severe weather threats, and other coastal storms to discuss. Before we get into things, we are looking for new clients, new commercial clients, especially for Prestige Weather. So if you are a business or organization owner, feel free to reach out. We do have a Calendly link and a website link in the description down below and in the top right corner of your screen. It might be on this side. I don't really know. But that is going to direct you to where you can schedule a meeting with me. We can discuss some opportunities to have your company use our company. It's usually between $100 to maybe $200 or $300 a month. Very, very affordable. We give updates for all sorts of rain events, snow events, or really whatever weather information you're looking for. So be sure to reach out if you are interested and we can get in contact with you. Let's dive into things. And as we take a look at the night tonight, we can see that there is a little bit of a coastal storm brewing. So what we're going to see is a lot of energy building up in the southeast corner. This is all going to kind of direct itself up the coast. No snowfall expected with this one, really, for the most part, at least not widespread by any means. We do have another storm along the west here. Kind of at the forefront of it is this 1004 millibar low pressure center over Wyoming, and we see snowfall extending all the way back through California and Oregon, up through Nevada, Idaho, Wyoming, and back into Montana. As we take a look at the afternoon for tomorrow, we can see all of this coastal energy for the East Coast really getting together. I mean, look at all this rainfall. It's surprising that we only have a 1005 millibar low pressure center down here between Georgia and South Carolina. With all of this energy and moisture, you would expect to see a little bit more there, but not really. This is mostly coming due in part to a lot of warmth and humidity moving up the coast that's mixing kind of with the cooler, more stagnant air that's left over near the coast and coming together and creating a bit of storminess. Okay, so flooding is a concern with this. Some thunderstorm activity is expected perhaps in the southeast corridor. Certainly going to be an interesting storm. Nothing major as far as low pressure systems are concerned, but as far reaching as this storm is, and it does have some moderate to major impacts in there, this could be a very, very impactful system overall for tomorrow on Wednesday, March 6th. By Thursday, on the 7th here of March, what we see is there is still some coastal energy left over, not quite as much as the day before, but there is still some energy out there for sure. We do have a 1003 millibar low pressure center over New Mexico here. We do see some thunderstorm activity beginning to the east of this, so for states like Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and back down into Texas. Also behind all of this, we do have some flurries and snow showers, as well as a couple rain showers there for the lower elevation and more coastal areas. A little bit less impactful out west, though. By the time we are reaching Friday here on the 8th, and I'm going to switch us back to this 12Z run, we can see not much changes, but this will get us more range. We can see that the lowest pressure is near the Dallas-Fort Worth area, maybe just to the north, but not a major low pressure system by any means yet. What we do see is there is some snowfall on the western or northern corridor of this storm, and that's going to be for states like Wyoming, Nebraska, Colorado, Kansas, New Mexico, and even the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas there. We also see some thunderstorm activity here across this kind of eastern front of everything. So Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana there, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, maybe even as far northward as southern Indiana, southern Illinois, and southern Missouri. By the time we're reaching Saturday afternoon, we see this is rushing towards the coast. We do have a 1002 millibar low pressure center up there in Canada, followed by a 1005 millibar low pressure center near the Smoky Mountains. That is going to be our secondary low. All of this energy is leading towards more of a frontal boundary here, and that could feature some thunderstorm activity along that. We also have a lot of moisture here to the south of that secondary low. Perhaps there's a cold front somewhere in there. This storm is a little bit wacky and it's hard to dissect. I would say that there is a lot of energy and potential severe weather happening in these areas, especially Alabama, Georgia, northern Florida through South Carolina. Wouldn't be surprised, however, if this corridor also features some thunderstorm activity as well. Now, by the time we're reaching Sunday on March 10th, we see a clean-cut cold front now by this point offshore. Florida definitely still being impacted by this one, as you can see. We do have some snowfall perhaps for the New England side of things for New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. I want to backtrack and make sure we didn't miss any overnight snowfall. It does seem to be a pretty exclusive snowfall event for the Adirondacks, the Catskills, and then for northern New England there, but definitely some snowfall perhaps, and we're left over with very cold air afterwards. We get this kind of inverted trough that leads to some frigid air last minute here for the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast, and there's still enough moisture left over to where we do see some Mid-Atlantic and Northeast snow showers to perhaps some moderate snowfall in spots. Very, very interesting. By the time we're reaching Tuesday afternoon, it's a lot quieter here in the east and central states, as you can see, not much happening, but we do have a storm system up here for the northwest, and that's going to count also for the southwest of Canada, and then states like Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Idaho, and Montana. This will mean snowfall for higher elevations and rainfall for those lower elevation areas. Let's take this forward towards Wednesday on March 13th, and we see this low is now located over Colorado. Again, some snowfall and rainfall to work with here. Much, much quieter still in the east. By Thursday, March 14th, we're already approaching the midpoint of the month. We see some snowfall for the Rockies here. Some lower pressure in here is pretty broad, but for Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and New Mexico there is a low pressure system trying to form. We see a lot of rising isolated thunderstorms here in Texas and Oklahoma, and then perhaps a warm front boundary trying to set up to the north where we do have some heavier showers across South Dakota, Nebraska, in through Minnesota and Iowa. Now, we do get all the way to Friday morning, and what's interesting here is, again, we don't have a low pressure system formed yet. I would have expected to maybe be in this area. We might get one midway up the front, somewhere in there. But regardless, we do have some heavier showers, perhaps thunderstorms here on this frontal boundary of the storm, and that's going to be for Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, Wisconsin, in through Michigan, and even Indiana there. So definitely an impactful system for the midpoint of the month appears to be very, very likely. Also, keep in mind our jet stream. We have this really wacky ridge, trough, and then another much bigger ridge here for the east. So we see rising air through some of the central and eastern states here, some cold air digging down for the four corner states. But what's going to begin to happen is this cold is going to want to spread eastward. It's going to push this frontal boundary into these warmer, more humid areas. And that rising warmth getting hit from the side by the cold and drier air is what causes severe weather outbreaks oftentimes, and even tornado outbreaks, as that creates a lot of shear, which is usually the biggest wind component that we're looking for these tornadic events. Outside of that, you also want to see instability, which we clearly have along this frontal boundary with these heavier showers and thunderstorms. So certainly some interesting events coming up. I want to take us into our GFS model here and just get this perspective. We do get this heavier snowfall event again for the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast. Accumulation would be a little bit harder to come by. Nothing too major yet on that front. We do see another coastal system around the 15th, so looking a little bit different than the European model. We do get colder air in the east. I mean, this is a classic frame here. This is the 17th of March. We get very deep diving cold air here in the east, bringing frigid temperatures back to this area. And really we get a thaw out west and for some of the central states where this warmth is pushing onshore from the west. This is making us basically in a primed position for a storm to move up that jet stream. Let's keep going with it, and we do get a Miller B type storm where we get this all the way down to a 990 near the borders of New Hampshire and Maine, creating a moderate heavy snowfall event for Pennsylvania up through New York and the rest of northern New England. We even get perhaps another storm on the way as we see things kind of brewing in this area. We have the colder air available in these areas, and if this does in fact move into this pocket, we would in that case see another potential snowfall event here in the Northeast. So by just viewing this, you're likely picking up on the fact that we are expecting I would say multiple snowfall threats here that we're going to be tracking over the next 2 to 3 weeks, as really wintertime is not necessarily said and done. We have been in a warmer, more mild pattern. There is some signs of colder air and snowfall possibilities, so we're going to keep our eyes really, really peeled on that. The total precipitation tells a lot of the story here, as we have a lot going on here in the Northwest. But not only that, let's address the elephant in the room. We have tons and tons of storminess expected here along the entire eastern states, even back through the plains up the east, I would say, as we have a lot of lows moving through like this with frontal boundaries underneath them, just like that. And that creates a lot of this precipitation. But we also have some pretty impactful systems punching up the east coast just like that. And all of these combined is going to lead towards above average precipitation in these areas over the next 10 days. The European model's total snowfall, we have a ton expected out west, of course, as they've just been getting slammed by these major snowstorms. But also portions of the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast here expecting some snowfall, especially in these mountainous areas for the Northeast, where we're expecting perhaps over a foot over the course of the next 10 days. So again, wintertime is not fully done for some of these areas. The GFS is interesting, same story out west, tons of snowfall here, except we get a little bit more here for the Northern Plains, Great Lakes, and Upper Midwest, as well as the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast looking a little bit juicier here than what the European model had to say. So definitely a lot of opportunities to discuss later on down the road. Let's work our way through the temperature pattern. This is something that I haven't shown in a little bit. We do expect overall warmer temperatures to prevail. Here's a cold front coming through for the 9th, 10th, 11th time frame. So we see for a brief moment almost, it seems, we get this kind of digging trough here in the east where this warmth is pushing up the west. Cold air is diving down in the east, but it's all going to just really move eastward. So we'll see that warm up move towards the east. Cooler air able to really establish itself for some of these northwest areas in here. And this is helping to cause the warmth to have to surge to the east here. So this is the exact setup I would say we have. As we keep going, we do eventually push into some colder territories as we set up after the 15th with a positive PNA, this classic signature here that causes all this cold to be directed into the eastern states. And this is exactly what allows for those cold and snowfall opportunities down the road. And we see that we end the model run here on the 21st with cooler temperatures overall for the east and warmer temperatures by far out west. So a very, very interesting setup, guys. Definitely something that we're going to be watching, especially on the front of the severe weather, the cold, and the potential snowfall. We do upload every single day, so be sure to hit the bell icon and subscribe so you can get those daily notifications when we upload, so you never miss one, as we're going to be tracking all of these things over the coming weeks. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.